Welcome to the Art of Wealth podcast, where we do wealth beautifully, meaningfully, and well. Welcome, Lisa, to the Art of Wealth. I am so grateful to have you here. This is Lisa Peak, and she is amazing. But before I tell you all about her, Lisa, tell us about yourself. Who are you, what you do, and how did you get here?
Oh, Crystal, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me to talk about, I think, both of our favorite topics,
Yes.
money and wealth. Um, so I am a wealth and feminine leadership mentor. What does that mean? Well, that means that I work with women and primarily female founders who are building impact-driven business, and I help them make sure that there's nothing in their relationship with money that keeps them from creating the impact that they're here to create, so that we can all work towards creating a future that's working for all of us. And it's kind of, there's definitely an interesting story. I didn't intend to ever be doing this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually quite a story that how I ended up here. So I think probably the best way to tell you about it is that there was a point in my life about 10 years ago where if you had, the outside of my life looked like a fairy tale. I had a really lucrative, successful career in IT consulting.
Mm-hmm.
And I had met an amazing man, moved to the Netherlands, and we lived on his family's estate in a castle.
Wow.
Okay, so I mean, I had set up a nonprofit. We have beautiful children. Everything on the outside, is that picture of, oh gosh, life couldn't be better,
Mm-hmm.
right? But on the inside, I actually was really, really confused. I felt really confused. I felt inferior. I kept trying to push and prove things to myself, to others. So, maybe there are people that are listening that can recognize this too, where, everyone on the outside thinks your life is a certain way. And on
Right.
the inside, you're experiencing it as something completely different.
Yeah.
And it came to a climax. And I really, I'm a transformational coach, and we talk a lot sometimes about what is really the moment where you thought, okay, things have got to change, the dark night of the soul, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it came because what no one was actually allowed to know was that we had really serious financial challenges, the kind of challenges with lots and lots of zeros. Okay. So, and on top of that, I was also financially dependent on my partner at this point, and our relationship was pretty rocky.
Ooh.
So there was a moment I remember that we were both in this huge house, and we were in the smallest room in the house, and it was really at the point where we thought, okay, this is we're done. We're going to lose everything. I remember specifically being on, I can remember, and I know when I tell this story, even the visceral feeling comes back from that moment. I mean, I felt nauseous. My entire system was shutting down. I felt so powerless, actually. And I also remember almost cursing the universe, thinking, how could you have let this happen to me? How can this be my life? Just totally upset and ranting. And then there was a moment when everything really got quiet. I don't know if you've ever been through something like this, or people who are listening, at a moment there was a moment where something shifted, and I heard this voice. It was sort of my voice, but I think it was maybe even beyond myself, and the voice said, you create your life, not money. And when that, my whole body's tingling again when I tell this story. I don't know, but it was as if something really shifted, where
Mhm.
I could then say, okay, I have always been, a determined woman who perseveres through anything. And I thought, okay, Lisa, let's just, take action. Let's fix this. Let's go. All
Mhm.
right. It was like and we did. We found the courage and the power to act. We sold everything. We sold our house. We sold the business. We sold everything, and we started over.
Wow.
And that in and of itself seems like an amazing before and after, right? But
Right.
then comes the phase where you realize that you are still actually the person that got yourself into that situation.
Mhm.
I was still the same person. I still had all of the same internal beliefs, same internal thoughts that had gotten me into that financial mess. Um, and I also had to realize that, and then came the real waves of shame. People thinking, "Oh my gosh, what do other people think about the fact that we've had to make these shifts, and the embarrassment, the humiliation, all of that." Um, and I was also really in a phase of questioning um, myself, my identity, really,
Mhm.
as a smart, resourceful, powerful. I mean, everything was like in a state um, of uncertainty. I thought, who am I then really? And I had to really do some deep soul searching to really explore how I had allowed this to happen. No
Mhm.
more blaming others, no more blaming anyone else, just really looking at me and my identity and how this had happened. So I started really a deep dive journey with some of the best coaches in the world, I have to say. We've talked about our mutual appreciation for women like Barbara Stanny and Lynn Twist, and I
Mhm.
also have done a lot of work in the meantime now with Claire Zammit, um, doing a lot of money work from top to bottom, spiritual, emotional, somatic, energetic, mindset, all of it. And I dug deep because I thought, I want to be in charge of my life, not money. I don't want this ever to happen again to me. I need to understand. I need to make sure that I do things differently. I need
Mhm.
to discover who I needed to become to be the woman who could live the belief I create my life and not money. Um, so I'm very grateful to have had all the support that I had. Grateful, and I'm also gonna, I'm grateful that I'm the type of person that has the perseverance and the courage to not stop until I understand how it works. And I also, I'm a systems thinker, so I was understanding that this is that there's really a holistic approach that's needed to our relationship with money. It's not just mindset, it's also
Mm.
our emotions, it's also um, our entire energy field. I don't know, we'll dive into that maybe a little bit later, but um, so I really, and then over the last 7 years or so, I fundamentally have changed who I am with money, my entire identity around money and wealth and as a result of that, I mean, my husband and we were able to turn our businesses around. Um, I started I realized that the work that I had done actually was the invitation to my true calling to really help other women understand and work through this holistic relationship with money. So I've built a professional coaching business. I've been, privileged to coach hundreds of women through what I have also learned. And you know, and financially things have really blossomed. I mean, I now can say that my personal net worth is over 7 figures. And I can tell you, when all this started, that was absolutely not the case.
Mhm.
And and I'm really, really trying to live the life of conscious wealth, where, I'm really aware of how I'm creating my money, using it, investing it, giving it. So I'm uh, I'm investing in female founders who are doing world changing business now. So I feel like I'm like, wow, there's definitely been a transformation here, and it's it's led me to being so passionate about this, and led me then here to talking with you about sharing some ideas about the most important things that I've learned on this journey. So I yeah, and it's really like, I feel like I'm on a mission every day. Anytime I can share this or talk to any woman about what's going on in her relationship with money, I know I'm doing what I'm here to do. So
Yes.
thank you for letting me live my mission.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you. I'm so fascinated by the kind of the crux of the story where you had that moment where you were, originally you felt powerless. You're
Yeah,
sitting in the room, you're feeling shame and you're blaming the universe.
yeah,
And then you had this profound shift to self-power. And I
exactly.
am the one who creates my own life.
Exactly.
And none of this is happening to me.
I am the creator of everything that happens in my life.
Yes.
I am the creator of my exact situation, my exact financial situation. I am the creator. No matter who else is involved in the whole process, I create it in one way or another. And you know, I think it was divine intervention that allowed that truth to come through, to
Mm.
allow me to experience that shift back into power,
Mhm.
and to really realize that that is something that can happen. And the question is, how do we how do we support ourselves, and what do we need to do to allow ourselves to shift back and stay in that, what I call power center, in
Yeah.
that center of creative power. And that's what this journey has really been about, and about the most important blocks that I discovered along the way, that always, always will pull us out of our power, and what we can do to work through those and to come back into power, to be the
Yes.
powerful creator of our life
In a
and our
pre
financial life.
in a previous episode, I talked with, Jennifer Wolfsberg about the victim mentality versus the wealth mentality, and that victim story is,
Oh
"I
yeah,
can't do this. This is happening to me."
yes,
Excuse, excuse, excuse. And
yeah.
and you did that exactly that. You made that shift to that different mentality that, "No, that's not how I'm going to live my life."
Right. And I think that and that is, if I look at the three most important blocks, or the three most important things that we need to work through to get back to our power, um, the victim mentality is an important one.
Mhm.
Um, and even more important than shifting the mentality. So is actually, for example, if you look at all of the excuses that we make,
Mhm.
um, usually I'm always I'm you know I I'm like, okay, so I was always the kid that asked why, right? I mean, I was so when I'm working with an entrepreneur, and there are things that procrastination, things not getting done, you know most I always make the joke, sort of, kind of, and this is not, most business coaches will just say, stop making excuses, just get on with it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, as a transformational coach, I know that the growth gold is in asking the question, why? Why are you making the excuses?
Mhm.
What is it in the moment? For example, let's just say, you know, let's just say I've put it on my list that every morning I'm going to start with, or one of my clients is going to start with. I do the same thing. Start with 3 outreach activities, outreach calls, sales, what 3 things that will help me generate revenue, right? And let's just say that they don't happen,
Okay.
right? Why don't they happen?
Mm.
In the moment that it is that you're thinking, okay, oh, you see it on your list of things to do and you don't do them. What is it that's happening at that particular moment? If you really slow it down, and I would almost put my hand in fire to tell you that if you really become conscious of what's happening, that there is a story that you
Yeah.
are telling yourself at that moment
Yep.
that is fully loaded in some sort of shame.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and especially for women. All right. We can talk a little bit about why this happens for women differently. But so it's so there's some story that's going on. It's and
Right.
it's like, it could be, oh, you really have to peel it down. And sometimes it doesn't even make a whole lot of sense.
Hmm.
Somewhere like, oh, well, they're not, it's not the right time to reach out to them. Well, maybe what I have to offer is actually not really what they need right now. Well, actually, maybe what I'm offering is not really that valuable in general. Maybe actually I'm not that valuable.
Hmm.
Maybe what I do is not that valuable. Maybe I'm not that valuable.
Some
I'm
form of
not
it.
valuable.
Right.
Some form of that, or
What you're
some
telling
form of,
yourself.
yeah, I'm not good enough. And you know, what that does is it completely cuts us off from, we shame is like, shame is like super glue that keeps you stuck.
Mm,
Okay. You
that's a
will,
quotable right there.
we get it's what happens is in that moment, we go into a closed loop. All right. This is a little bit,
Hmm.
we shut down, we contract, we get cut off from all of our resources, our brilliance, our creativity, our everything. It's like we completely shut down and we get
Hmm.
stuck in a loop. You know, um, I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure possibly you've listened to or read Brene Brown's
Love,
groundbreaking research on shame. I mean,
love
we
her.
get in a closed loop and it
Well,
keeps,
she just had an interesting quote on one of her most recent podcasts, and I'll have to link to this in the show notes. But she said it much more elegantly than I'm going to say it here. But the essence of it was, shame is unwanted identity, and
oh yeah,
I love that
yeah,
because that's when we feel shame, is when we feel like we are being something we don't want to be, or we inherently are something we don't want to be.
right.
And that shame loop that you talk about, I so understand that, and I've been there, and I had the big transformation for myself with shame. Um, it was like 4 or 5 years ago now. For the first time in my life, when I knew shame was coming, I could feel it coming. I could feel it, starting
Mhm.
to wash over my body.
Yeah.
I allowed myself to feel it.
And that is the
That
key.
was transformative, because all of those looping, all of those avoiding things that we do are to get away from the experience of shame. And
Yes.
now I'm like, okay, if a story I'm telling myself, if a thought I'm thinking is going to bring on some shame, let's feel it. And now I'm not afraid of the things that bring me shame, and I can actually be in the moment long enough to have that transformation of, what would I rather tell myself about this and myself than shame? Yeah, than one that.
Exactly. I, you know, and um, it's it is exactly the disempowerment comes when we try to avoid. So
Yes.
we avoid feeling, feeling that inadequacy, feeling that um, it can lead into all kind of sadness, depression, even loneliness. Okay, so um, and there's nothing wrong with those emotions when we learn to be able to be with them, when we
Right.
learn to, like you're describing, turn towards them. And so, because that allows us because on the other side of the shame, when we treat the shame, when we turn towards our shame or whatever it is that we're feeling, in the stories that we're telling ourselves, when we can feel compassion and like give compassion to ourselves for thinking these things about ourselves,
Yeah.
it's almost as if that becomes some sort of like magical dissolvent, like of the super glue, right? It
Yes.
like it allows it to sort of dissipate. And because our power is on the other side of that emotion, of the shame or the fear or the anxiety or whatever it
It
was.
doesn't have the power over us because we're
No,
willing to be with it instead of getting away from it.
exactly.
Okay,
And
so
yes, so the
you
first thing,
you talked about the 3 blocks, and
yeah,
I think we kinda jumped into the first one without clearly saying, "Hey, we're talking about the 3 blocks. What are the 3 blocks?" And then let's go into them. And
thanks.
3 blocks to what? What are we blocking?
We're blocking our creative power to be the creator of our life, to be the creator of our financial life. So these are the 3 blocks that we need to work on to be able to come back into our power as a creator. And exactly, the first one is shame. Becoming aware of when we are experiencing shame and being able to hold it and be with it and dissolve the super glue, so to speak, so that we can come back into our power, come back into the like being able to really fully access our creativity, get out of that closed down loop. So so yes, that's the first block that will knock us out of our power. And one tip for how anyone listening can
Mhm.
get back into power if they experience shame. Yeah, yeah.
Love it. So where do we
So
go from here?
we go to the second block. And
Mhm.
this is one that I think a lot of, the second block is an experience of lack or
Mm.
lack of possibility. And we talk a lot about a scarcity mindset around money.
Mhm.
And actually, what scarcity really is being disconnected from an experience of possibility.
Mm.
We, it's, we get so shut down in terms of the stories. We get blocked by the stories that we are also telling ourselves about life, what's possible for us, what isn't possible for us, like, and these it just creates a whole like contraction again of worry and fear and anxiety
Mhm.
and then you can also a lot of times feel it in your body. So so for example, we were talking about earlier, oh, I don't know, a lot of my clients, I don't know where I'm going to find the clients to cover my to meet my goals for the month, or I don't know, or women who I speak to, a lot of women who are considering leaving a job that they don't like to start a business. And it's like this whole, I'll never be able to start a business that will really be able to allow me to earn as much money as I do in this corporate job, so to speak. That's a
Mhm.
big one.
Mhm.
Or there's all kinds of things, but can you feel like it's like a statement of non-possibility?
Yeah.
And we get it's almost as if we're telling ourselves that we don't have the power to be able to live a different, to be able to change that, to be able to really do what it is that we're longing and have a strong desire to do.
So it's the story of powerlessness. Just
It's
like you were telling yourself in the little room in the castle.
yes,
It's the story of powerlessness.
it is. And it's
And
yeah.
and the invitation there is maybe that's not true.
The invitation is to well, I would just definitely allow the space to believe that it's not true,
Mhm.
and to then enter into what I would a sort of practice of any time that you are experiencing, some sort of scarcity or non-possibility, that you say, "Hold on, wait a minute. Um, let's take a step back and let's turn that statement into a question."
Mm.
Let's shift from the biggest shift that you want to make in a situation like this is from non possibility into curiosity. So
Mhm.
if you can shift into curiosity, you'll open up space. So for example, I don't know where I'm going to find more clients. That's a statement of non-possibility. You can turn that into, and I always, tend to start these questions always with, I wonder. I wonder where I might find, 3 more clients this month. I
Mm.
wonder. And that, what that does is it shifts you back into a connection with, or the possibility for connection with your inner wisdom, your inner power again. Because if you get really quiet and you ask yourself, well, I wonder what I can do to find 3 new clients this month.
Mhm.
And you really listen, usually you can hear some form of guidance that is gonna open, that you can take action on. And that's what then you've shifted back from non-possibility back into power.
That's an
You
empowered question.
It's an empowered question. I wonder how. I wonder how this is possible. So, um, you know, it's it does, it is a practice, of course. It's
Mhm.
not as if, a lot of the things that we're describing now, they're practices. They're not
Mm.
things that I can give someone. I would love to be, when I can create a pill that'll shift us out of shame, lack, and all of these blocks in a minute. Well, that would be something
But
fantastic.
then I think, we would lose the empowerment of the experience of
Oh, of
doing it
course.
for ourselves too. It's
Sure.
such an empowering thing to go through it and say, I've done that. I can do
Mhm.
this. I can do this again.
I can do this again. I could do this again. And it's incredibly empowering when you listen to, your inner wisdom.
Mhm.
Let's just say inner wisdom says, oh, wait a minute, actually, there's this, this network partner who mentioned last month that she might know somebody. Okay, so wait, hold on, I'll reach out to her. And
Mhm.
when you see that by reaching out to her, and that leads to new clients, it's really, and it's like creating evidence for the fact that yes, I can create my life. These
Yeah.
thoughts that I have that are rooted in non-possibility, they are not true. I'm creating evidence. I'm practicing this. I'm listening to my intuition. I'm taking the action based on my intuition, and I am creating my life. Which is, oh man, when I see that happening with a client, I'm like, yes, see, you are a powerful creator. See,
Okay, so talk a little bit about women and power and why this particular shift is so hard sometimes
the shift from non-possibility into possibility.
into power. Yep.
Well, um, wow, now you're opening up a whole Pandora's box. Well, okay,
This
so
just went for a 4-hour podcast
I
from what
know maybe we might have to have a whole nother conversation to go really into this. You
yeah.
know, um, because okay, let's just go there. So, you know, all of these stories that we have,
Mhm.
they are we don't they didn't just like pop into our brains. I think you've also had podcasts about how our money stories and our stories get created. And over cultural history, um, women have not always had the possibility to be able to create the life that we have wanted.
Mhm.
If I look back at my grandmother, if I look back at my mother, if I think back to my mother's mother, um, so shutting off our connection to our desires and the possibility to be able to create the things that we desire, that
Mhm.
has been almost um, it has almost been entrenched in our story, collective story as women.
Mhm.
It's all in my grandmother's time, it would have been painful for her to believe it was possible to do a lot of the things that we now think are normal.
Right. The
So,
the statistic on that that still blows my mind that I love to quote when we're talking about this is
yeah.
women could still not have a credit card in their own name
Oh,
until 1974 in the
absolutely.
United States.
Exactly.
And that still blows my mind, and I'm gonna probably say that for the next 20 years, and people born after 2000 are gonna say, "That's, like, old news. Can you stop quoting that?" But it still blows
Yeah,
my mind.
it is. um, every time I think about, the, it's only been in my mother's generation
Mhm.
that women could go to college and get a degree.
Right,
They could own property. They could have a bank account that wasn't attached to their partner or some other family member if they weren't married.
right,
We kind of, because we kind of forget that it wasn't that long ago.
right.
So, and what's interesting, and this is why I think that that the feminine, let's just say the feminine empowerment movement or the feminine power movement
Mhm,
is so phenomenal right now. It's because on the outside, a lot of the legal barriers, there's still a lot of work to do, but a lot of the legal and the organizational barriers to allow women to have, to be able to be the powerful creator in their life, the majority of those, have been tackled by our foremothers, I was say four, by our, the women that have gone before us. And
mhm,
I feel like it's our generation's job now
mhm.
to do the inner transformational work that will allow us to fully step into being the powerful creator and healing all of this old collective story stuff. Because, they're not the stories that we have individually as women,
Mhm.
they're actually part of a very strong collective story
Mm.
among women, a story that we are working really hard to break free from and it's not break free, it's actually to heal from. A lot of the
And
work that I do is kind of healing work.
it's societal. I mean,
Yeah,
you see a lot, you experience a lot as a woman. I have the, invisible glass ceiling, the misogyny, the, not being taken
yeah,
seriously, the recent study that a lot of people are familiar with, I'll have to take it up, but they, recorded the kinds of questions that male and female founders
yes,
received from angel investors. And there was a sort of undertone of disbelief in the questions that were targeted towards women
yeah,
versus the questions that were targeted towards men. So it's still, I'd like to think unconscious,
unconscious, yes.
but very prevalent in our society anytime a woman goes to do something that historically women have not been allowed to do.
And we are making immense strides very quickly to change all of that. Um, and uh, and and yet, every once in a while, we bump up against our inner stories that are deeply rooted and creating the non-possibility
Right.
for ourselves. So it's almost as if we have to. So I believe, and I believe that to change the external bias, the inner work that we're doing now, as that you're doing, that I'm doing around our relationship with money, and how we're helping our clients to have an empowered relationship with money,
Yeah.
that is going to shift the unconscious bias. And what really makes me hopeful also, to add this, is that over the next 30 years, so I'm thinking about how this entire I love to dive into what's going on in the larger system of money.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, or there's been research that has shown that within the next 30 years, the large intergenerational wealth transfer is going to happen, which means that all of the wealth that's held in the world will be handed over to the next generation.
Mhm.
And over 70% of that money is going to be handed over into the hands of women.
Yay.
Oh my God. Like whenever I think about that, my whole body starts to tingle because I know that that will have a massive shift in our entire economic and money system.
Yeah.
Because when women have affluence, I mean, every single woman that I know, including myself, including all in you as well. I mean, our primary focus, of course, is to make sure that we are safe and secure, that our family is safe and secure. We want prosperity for ourselves, for our family, but our general driving factor is to create prosperity for everyone,
Yes.
take care and create prosperity for all. So I just know that there's going to be a massive shift in how women start to allocate this massive wealth into creating prosperity for all, into investing in women who are building impact-driven businesses that are working on the world's to-do list, and philanthropy and all kind of
Yes.
amazing things to allow their money to flow to create a new system that works for
And
everyone.
it's natural. Women feed each other, like my allegory of the long spoons that I love so much. It's we're here to just help and support each other.
Exactly. And you know what? This is, I think, maybe also the perfect segue into what is the third block.
Let's hear it.
The third block is when we isolate ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, because we we are powerful creators, um, and let's look at money as a specific something that we would like to create.
Hmm.
We never create that by ourselves. I mean, it's not like we have a printing press in our house, okay, unless you're the federal government, okay, they have a printing press over there. But it's not like we have a printing press in our house and that we create money by printing money, right?
Well, and
We
even
are,
if even if you did that in isolation, you'd only be using the money to buy your own things. I mean, you have to have
well,
community to
ex-
use and gather money. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we have access to money, or we can create money through our connections with others,
Right.
through working with people, through our clients, through um, networks, all kind of collaborations, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So it's what's really interesting is that so this third money block that I'm talking about is actually a form of isolation. It's like we unconsciously cut ourselves off from from the kinds of connections that will allow us to really access the resources that we need, including money, to really powerfully create what we are here to create.
So I can hear myself saying, "Oh, I don't do that," but I absolutely know that I do. So can you give us some
Oh yeah.
examples of what it looks like for a woman to do that? Yeah.
Yes, I would love to, because oh man, I so like am busted on all of this. Okay. All right. So I would call myself a high achiever. I think you would probably call yourself also a high achiever. I would expect that a lot of the women that you work with and are listening to.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that we have somehow or another gotten ourselves stuck in this old pattern of believing that we are weak and insufficient, or there's something wrong with us, or we're not good enough if we need help.
The
All right.
American dream, right?
Oh yeah, we need to know all the answers. We need to do it right. We can't really trust that somebody can do it as well as we can. If we ask for help, we need to be vulnerable in order to ask for help, and that could mean that somebody might think that we're weak or not take us seriously. I mean, it's it's almost this like catch 22. It's as if we think that if we ask for help, we're giving our power away.
It's kind of that unwanted identity shame piece. I don't you just said, "I don't want people to think I'm weak. I don't want
Right.
people to think I can't do this."
Exactly.
And number 1, what other people think of you is none of your business, but 2, they're probably not thinking of you, and 3, what is wrong with needing help?
Well, that's true. And the thing is that there's so much help around us. right?
Mhm.
I mean, and people, I don't know about you, but if somebody asks me for help, I gladly help them.
Yeah.
It's like it gives me the opportunity to give, right? So if you don't ask anybody, you also sort of deprive other people of
Yes.
feeling like they are able to give to you. So, you know, what's what and what's underneath that, I'm the why, right? So what's really going on, right? The underneath all of that is that we're actually, our pattern typically is that we are used to, like minimizing the fact that we might need support. So it's actually, we are, most women that I meet, they're actually disconnected and unaware of what they truly need from other people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Disconnected. So say more about that.
Disconnected. So, if I were to, it's almost as if we don't even know how to recognize
Mhm.
that we need something anymore. We're so used to like not asking anyone for help. It's almost as if we don't even, if I were to, so this happens a lot. I'll have conversations with new women that I meet, and I'm very interested in helping other, helping you. Like if we were on a connection call and I'm like, so what is it that you really need right now? If I could help you get access to something that you really need to work on whatever you're stuck on in your business right now, what is it you really need? And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, the person on the other side of the call can't tell me what they need.
Wow.
It's weird. It's like, I call this actually, it's like we're in this like massive support deficit. It's like we don't even know that we are cutting ourselves off from what we need.
Support
Um,
deficit. That's
yeah,
fascinating.
it's kind of weird. It's really weird. So I am in, it's not weird, but it's very logical. We are
Mhm.
so unused to recognizing what we need. And, and this is in a lot of places.
Mhm.
This is not only around money. I mean, this can be in your relationships with your partners. This can be in your
Oh, yeah,
relationship
that feels so
with your
vulnerable to say
friends.
to a partner, "Here's what I need in the relationship." Absolutely.
Yeah. So if we're, and that ripples out, that radiates out. So the first thing that we need to work on is, like, for example, if there's something that you're really stuck on, let's go back to the, okay, so how am I gonna find the clients to, meet my revenue target this month? What is it that, instead of thinking, all right, well, I just got to do what I got to do, I'm just going to like hustle and do this, that, and the other. I mean, take a step, hold on,
All by myself.
all by myself, just doing it all by myself. No, wait a minute, hold on. What is it that I really need? What I really need actually is access to communities or networks where my ideal client hangs out, where I will have access to them. Oh, wow. Okay, wait a minute. That changes everything.
Mhm.
How can I get access? What I need is access, not clients. I need access to people. Okay, so how can I get access? Okay, I need to consider, okay, I need to ask in my network, who has access to that group?
Mhm.
Oh, well, that's easy. Wait a minute. I know that Jane or Sally or whoever
Mhm.
is also in a network where they are. Maybe she can think with me. So actually, that shifts in. Oh, I need actually to have a call with Sally and have some brainstorming thought partnership, or brainstorming moment to come up with some way I can access that group. Do
Mm.
you realize? I mean, if you do,
Yeah.
it comes back into, okay, connecting with really getting in touch with what is it that I really need. That brings you. Did you feel how powerful that becomes?
Yeah,
And it brings, yeah.
a moment came to me when, I was on a phone call with a friend, and I really, really wanted to tell her, "Hey, I really want something. There's something I wanna do. I don't know how to do it. Can you just help me think about it?" And I was
Yeah.
so terrified to even ask her because I
Yes.
thought she might think I was asking for the moon. But I was really just, "Can you put your brain on it with me?" And so I had to get through the whole call sweating, internally, and
Yeah.
finally I just said, "Okay, I have to tell you something. Just put your brain on it with me." And it led to one of the best collaborations that I've ever been a part of. And it was so easy and fun. But it just
Beautiful.
having that moment of wanting to ask and thinking, oh, I don't want to ask. Again, the shame piece. What will she think of me?
What will she think? Oh, there's a whole, so these are all of our stories. It's always comes down to the stories that we're telling ourselves. What will she think of me? Oh, she'll think I'm, oh gosh, she'll think there's something wrong with me, that I can't do this by myself. That's the one I get a lot.
Yeah.
They'll think, oh no, here's another one. This is vulnerability speaking here. Or they'll think, or one of mine is, she'll think I don't have my act together because I
Yeah.
haven't figured out how to do it.
And look at all of us with our acts not together, terrified that people are going to find it out. You know what? We're all in the same boat. We're all doing.
Really? I mean, and okay, and here's the question that I just love to hold. It's like, what on earth could we achieve as women if we would allow ourselves to be radically supported?
Ooh.
Radically. Like, never hesitate when we feel like there's something that we need, and figure out how we can ask for it, who and how we can ask for it.
That
Holy
is
shit,
so
man.
good.
Oh man, that just opens up so much possibility and power. I'm just going to revel in that for a second
And
while we
it's
sit here.
I think the key word there is allow.
Allow. Yes,
Yeah.
it is, because it's always the shifting the story, the internal story that we're telling us about other people,
Yeah.
that will allow us to be able to come back into our power and ask for what we need.
I think that I am good at this on some levels. And then there's an acquaintance in my life who um from day one of knowing her, she's just like so brazen about, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. And will you do this for me? And just handle this. And, so many people around her are like, how dare she? you know, but she gets done all the things that she wants to do. She gets rest and rejuvenation and is radically supported. And it's such a fun opposite, like almost
Yeah,
extreme opposite. And yeah, and that's an important thing too, is people, there will always be someone who doesn't like what you're doing.
sure. I mean, and actually, what I think is fascinating is that it's actually their internal stories
Yes.
that are leading to their judgment of the
Yes.
fact that she is so brazen,
Yes.
right? So that how dare she is
Yes.
actually,
Their
if you
own.
ask me, it's like a mirror. Mirroring back to, okay, wait a minute. So what is keeping you then from
Mhm.
actually being so brazen, or being, or are you sure that you're asking for what you need in all situations, or
Yeah.
that type of thing?
Why aren't
It's
you
really interesting,
kowtowing like the rest of us? That's,
right?
yeah.
Anytime anytime I do, I studied Wayne Dyer's work for a while, when I was really like, who stuck in my mindset. And, he really helped me get a really good grip on judgment and
Mm.
expectation, and how our judgments of others are really a strong mirror of
Mhm.
something that we're telling ourselves that's rooted in shame.
Yes.
So that's a question for anyone to explore whenever they're noticing that they're judging someone else.
I love
What is
that.
this?
And
Yeah,
it's an invitation to be free of the idea that someone else will judge you, because
sure.
they're not really judging you. They're judging their perception of you in their lens. And that's all of it. You don't have to live your life by what other people will think.
No, beautifully said. Beautifully said. So I vote that we allow ourselves, all of us, to be radically supported.
I love it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So those are the 3 blocks that I have been working on, and that I help my clients work on every day, all day. They're practices, really, right? It's
Yeah.
practice of shifting out of disempowerment, out of shame, back into power, out of lack or non possibility, and back into power, out of
And you
isolation and back into power.
And you hit this at different spirals too. It's important to
Oh,
know
sure.
that you can nail it at one level and then you're growing your business or you're in a different stage in life and you hit things again. You come up to different levels of scarcity, different levels of shame. And that
Exactly.
doesn't mean that you did it wrong. It doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
not nailing it. It's very, very natural to hit this at different levels.
Well, we're all on a path to, I mean, especially, if we're really gonna create this new future that I feel like most of the women that I know of and speak to are being called to create, we are gonna continuously gonna need to be on our growth edge to step into, the full power of who we can be.
Yes.
And um, every time, we every time we do the work to make another leap in our growth, in our business, in our lives, in our impact, our influence, every time we do that, that's wonderful. And then when we go to make that next leap, the stories come up again. They just are, you're being invited to do the next level of healing or reflection or transformation so you can
Mhm.
step into that next level of who you're becoming. So
Absolutely.
it's you know I and the I so it's a practice of being aware. Oh wait, here's this shame-based story again. One of my key stories is I don't matter. Okay. It comes from childhood. It's been, reiterated in a lot of different ways. So I always can see that whatever is going on for me to take the next leap in my business, there's something related to that story that's being invited to heal at the next level deeper. It's
Yeah.
just okay. I can say, oh, that's just the way it works, but it's at least my experience of how it works. And yeah, leads us back into a practice of growth, practice of transformation, practice of becoming who we are here to become so that we can be the powerful creators that we are.
And what's so exciting, which is why I'm here, it's why you're here, it's why we're all doing this work, is we're not doing this alone. We
No.
are all here doing it together. And when we take the time to reach out to each other and have these conversations
Yeah,
and hold the groups that we do, and um, it's such an opportunity for women to know you are supported. You don't have to do this by yourself.
exactly. And when we share our stories, it's one of the things I create power circles of female founders,
Hmm.
so that we can work on this together. And one of the most uh, uh, inspiring things is when I tell my story or when another woman in the group tells their story about what they're struggling with,
Hmm.
and it creates a sort of a normalizing effect that we realize that we are actually all on a similar journey. We're all working on ourselves. We're doing it together. It normalizes it. It takes the shame out of it. It takes the judgment out of it. And we can then step in to support each other, amplify each other's greatness. Say, hey, listen, you are a brilliant, podcast hostess. Of course you can do this and interview on stage with, I don't know, Oprah, I mean, whatever might be
Yeah.
in your journey. But
Yeah.
it
Absolutely.
allows us to create um, the conditions to grow and to shift whenever we're in shame or non-possibility or feeling isolated. It's
Absolutely.
uh it's powerful. So I appreciate the support and just the conversation that we're having now. It's anytime we talk about this ourselves, it's transformational, and anytime we can allow others to be involved in the conversation, it will transform, whether we're aware of it or not. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. This
Oh,
has been wonderful. It's always fun talking to you. You and I connect on such a level with all of this, and I appreciate you taking the time. And I will have all of Lisa's contact info, how to get a hold of her, how to work with her in the show notes. And just again, thank you so much for being here.
Crystal, it was a pleasure. Anytime. Love to be in conversation with you always.
Take care. Okay.